Welcome to Module 2, Week 2. This week, we will be honoring the foundations of Chicano culture and history by exploring the civilizations of Mesopotamia, the origins of colonization, and by viewing a Mexico timeline that gives us insight to key events that have happened throughout history. In week 2, we introduced the critical vocabulary chart, which is a chart that you will create and add to on an ongoing basis every week, so that by the end of the semester, you have an extensive list of the critical vocabulary terms and concepts that we integrate throughout the semester to help us in our understanding and analysis of ethnic studies topics. The way that the chart works is that there are 3 different columns. On the left, you will see the chart column for vocabulary word, which is where you will copy and paste or type into that section the different words that are always presented through the weekly videos or PDFs. Some weeks you'll have a video, some weeks you'll have a PDF that contain your critical vocabulary words. So you list the words for the week on that left side of the chart, and you will add to this chart as it will be growing from week to week. The middle section says definition in your own words, and this is why this chart is particularly important and different. I don't want you to just copy and paste a definition that you find online or that you copy and paste from a dictionary. I will provide you with the definition in my videos or PDFs. And in this section, you need to create your own definition of that term in your own words. So I'm hoping that when I look at your charts, it will be your own analysis and perspective of that definition and not somebody else's definition of that word. This will help the information stick in your brain in more powerful ways and more long-lasting ways than just copying, pasting, and slapping a definition next to the word. So again, the middle section is the definition of the word in your own words, in your own thoughts and perspectives. And then on the right side of the column, there is a space for you to add an image. And science tells us that when we associate an image with a word's definition, it stays in our brains in more powerful ways. So that is why for this critical vocabulary chart, you will be defining the word through your own mental processes and adding an image to help reflect the word. And you can find the images on Google. It should be a pretty easy thing to just copy and paste an image into the chart. Okay, this chart is not due on a weekly basis. It's something that you are going to be creating and keeping track of, and it will be due at the end of the semester. I'll announce that date in a upcoming weekly video. But for now, what you need to know is that there is a module in your week 2 module that says critical vocabulary chart template. I've created a template for you. You can copy and paste that template or create your own. You can do it as a Microsoft Word document. You can do it as a Google document, whatever works the best for you to keep track of your weekly vocabulary in a file format that you will be able to share with me at the end of the semester when you will have a very extensive list of vocabulary words. And this list will be helpful to you as the semester goes on because I will begin to ask you to integrate the critical vocabulary words in your discussion posts and journal reflections so that you're able to really integrate the vocabulary terms and concepts and definitions and exemplify that you understand the meanings of these terms. And the most important, perhaps, reason why this critical vocabulary chart is very necessary is that you will have a final at the end of the semester with a lot of the vocabulary words. The majority of the vocabulary words will show up on your final at the end of the semester, and you'll be able to refer to your critical vocabulary chart to help you complete your final. So please, this week, visit the critical vocabulary chart template that is found in your week 2 module and add the words that you will see in this video to your chart to start the process. When we talk about Mesoamerica, we're talking about a large portion of land that stems from the southern United States, all of Mexico, into Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua, and even in other parts of El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, all of these different places where civilizations of Aztec, of Maya, of Olmec flourished before Columbus arrived to this hemisphere of the world. And their sheer size, the structure of their buildings, what we know of these civilizations prove that these people were advanced technologically. And it's amazing, and it's also very frustrating to think of what might this world, especially North America, Central America, South America, Mexico, what this world would have been like if they would have never been conquered and destroyed and damaged by the Spaniards, and also in South America, the Portuguese as well, explorers and conquistadors. The Olmec were an early Mesoamerican civilization centered in the Veracruz region of southeast Mexico that flourished between 1300 and 400 BCE, which is before our Common Era. And their cultural influence was widespread throughout Mexico and Central America. The culture of the Olmec is characterized by a highly advanced and developed system of agriculture, by jade carvings and sculptures in the form of these giant heads that we commonly see. It is interesting to note that many people believe that African people had actually sailed across the ocean and had intermixed with the indigenous people of this region and influenced some of these carvings. And that is why you will see some of the features of the Olmec statues very similar to African features as well. And it's really important that you explore this history for the possibility and notion of Africans arriving in these areas before Columbus. And we will explore more of that in the future. We must always respect and honor the Maya, Mesoamerican people that inhabited southeast Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize. Their civilizations reached their height around Common Era, 300 to 900. And as you can see from these pictures, they're noted for their amazing structures and the technology that was required to organize and plan cities that were unparalleled at the time. And very other few places in the world had this type of advancement at the time that they flourished. The Maya are also credited for their mathematics, their intelligence and brilliance with the development of the calendar, knowledge of the stars, astronomy, and their hieroglyphic writing system. So the beautiful and brilliantly detailed artwork that came about at that time period. The Aztec people, who originated as a nomadic, meaning a traveling tribe, in northern Mexico, arrived in Mesoamerica around the beginning of the 13th century. From their magnificent capital city, Tenochtitlan, which we will see a little video of shortly, they emerged as a dominant force in Central Mexico. And they had powerful social, political, religious, and commercial organizations that brought many of the region's city-states under their control by the 15th century. So I wish we could go more in depth of Aztec history, and you can certainly take a course that will help you explore that fully. But there is no denying of the power of the Aztec people and their civilization and their contributions to world and to the world history. Tenochtitlan, which is an incomparable example of intelligence, of brilliance, of the people's power to create a civilization unlike any other on the face of the earth in about 1325. And I hope many of you have looked at or seen artist renditions or pictures of what this grand, amazing place looked like before it was ultimately conquered, right? But built in the middle of a lake as an island with incredible organization of buildings, of temples, of aqueducts, of fields for growing food, of city structures where people lived and worshipped and carried out wars. And this example of the advancement of the Aztec people is unlike anything else that you would see on earth. And we are going to watch a video that gives a little bit more insight as to what the glory of Tenochtitlan really was like.
Tenochtitlan was the capital of the Aztec Empire in Mesoamerica. The city was founded in the first half of the 14th century on one of the islands of Lake Texcoco in the Valley of Mexico. Tenochtitlan became fully developed as a city by the beginning of the 15th century. Most of the buildings of that era were constructed from stone. As the city was growing, a part of the lake was drained and the original size of the island was increased. Artificial islands made from mud and a canal system lent the Aztec capital a unique appearance. The area of the city was over 10 square kilometers, and its population numbered approximately 200,000. The Temple District, with the most important buildings in the city, was located in the center of Tenochtitlan, surrounded by a stone wall. The most outstanding of the buildings was the Great Temple, which was 30 meters in height. There were 2 shrines at the top. The altars in front of these were used for ritual sacrifices, usually human sacrifices, which were offered to the god of the sun on one and to the god of the rain on the other. Located on the other side of the central district was the Tlachtli, the court for the Aztec ball game called Ulamalitzli, or hip ball. The game often contained ritual elements and often featured human sacrifice. Next to this field was another morbid structure. The Tzompantli, or skull rack, was a rack with stakes, where the skulls of those defeated and sacrificed were kept. The city was also supplied with drinking water and public sanitation. Eventually, however, even this magnificent city could not avoid its fate. In 1521, Tenochtitlan was conquered by the Spanish, led by the conquistador Hernando Cortés, who had arrived on the Yucatan Peninsula in 1519. The magnificent Aztec buildings were destroyed, and, in the 18th century, the lake was completely drained or filled. Today, where Tenochtitlan once stood, we find one of the largest cities in the world, Mexico City.
Defining conquistador. as a Spanish or Portuguese conqueror of Mexico, Central America, or South America, a soldier who defeated the people in the lands of the Americas and took their land for Spain or Portugal through brutal and evil and cruel means, rape, pillaging, diseases, torture, murder of the indigenous people of these lands for the name of Spain and Portugal. Colonization is the process of assuming control, either by war, by conquer, by force, genocide, slavery, intimidation, etc., of someone else's territory, and applying one's own systems of law, government, and religion. And in terms of this course, we think of colonization by Spain, by Portugal, by other European nations over lands which were not theirs. I would love for you to consider this process by thinking about how would you feel if somebody showed up at your door tonight and told you to get out, or you and your family would be murdered, tortured, or forced out. Would you not fight back? Well, that's precisely what happened when Europeans came to this hemisphere of the earth and started claiming lands as their own. They had to contend with the people who lived there. And oftentimes, the people who lived in these lands were depicted as savages for fighting back to protect their land. But I ask you to consider, would you not do the same thing? Here are your week 2 readings. The first one is a chapter from the online text Occupied America. It's located in Module 2. You will download the online textbook. That's why this is a free cost course, meaning you don't have to purchase the textbooks because I provide everything for you online. But you do have to download the text. You will read Chapter 1, Not Just Pyramids, Explorers, and Heroes this week. You will also read an article titled Mesoamerican Civilizations, 7 Defining Characteristics Throughout History, and Mexico Timeline. Every week, I will provide you with essential questions that help you guide you while you're reading, right? What are the main things that you should be taking away while you're reading the chapters and the articles that I provide for you? So for chapter 1, Not Just Pyramids, Explorers, and Heroes, the things that you should be thinking about while you're reading so that you take away the key themes are: what are the major stages of development in the evolution of Mesoamerican civilizations? Number 2, what was the impact and the importance of corn? What are the highlights of agricultural innovations, urban centers, architecture, calendars, and mathematical and literary achievements? And what were the changes in the development of classes and gender differences as the populations grew from villages to chiefdoms to urban centers and traced the evolving modes of production? So again, while you're reading chapter 1, these are the key questions that you should be seeking to answer as you explore the powerful history of Mesoamerican civilizations and the ancestors of many of you in this class. In the article Mesoamerican Civilization, 7 Defining Characteristics Throughout History, which has a link that you will also find in Module 3 readings, your essential questions for this article are: what characteristics and inventions identify Mesoamerican civilizations as highly advanced? Which characteristics of Mesoamerican civilization were the most interesting to you and why? So this is what you're thinking about while you read the article. Your third article for the week is a Mexico timeline. Your questions for this article are: what circumstances led to the war between Mexico and America in 1846? What were the results of the war? How did it impact Mexico and its people? What were the determining events between 1800 and the present that led to Mexico's relationship with America today? The videos you will watch this week are The Rise of the Aztecs, Tenochtitlan, the Jewel of Mesoamerica, Aztec History, European Conquest of America, Summary on a Map, and Aztecs, Arrival of Cortez and the Conquistadors. The two assignments that are due Sunday, March 5th are your discussion post number 2 and your first Jamboard activity, and all of the instructions are found in the assignments in the module. Thank you for watching your week 3 video. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. As always, reach out to me if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you again next week in week 4. Take care, everybody. Peace.